any change in Iran has to come from people. Any regime change by Western governments will have very bad consequences for people.
Now, it's claimed that an Israeli airstrike on one of Iran's most notorious jails last week killed 71 people. Evin prison holds civil rights activists, accused spies, and political prisoners, and its front gates were targeted during Israel's bombing campaign on Monday of last week. The prison is known for the horrific abuse of some of its prisoners, and indeed executions have taken place there too. But Iran now says inmates and visiting families are among the dead. Well, Nazrin Parvaz knows Evin well. She is a civil rights campaigner, and she was in that prison where she was tortured herself for 8 years. Nazrin, that's right, isn't it? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Yes, I was in prison for 8 years, but I was in different prisons, mostly at Evin, yeah.
And can you tell us when you first arrived there and why?
When the Islamic regime took power in Iran, it introduced misogynistic laws. Like so many young people of the time, I couldn't accept this and started activities such as going to demonstrations against the regime or trying to organize unions in workplaces. I was arrested 2 years later and tortured and the first 6 months of my imprisonment, I was in an interrogation center. Then after that, I was taken to Evin. When I was taken to Evin, the rooms that were made for 5 people, um, there were 80 people. The room I was in, we were 80 people and 2 children.
Oh, my
So,
goodness.
yeah,
So 80 people, 2 children, in a
yeah,
space built for 5.
yes, yeah.
I can't even, I don't think anyone listening will be able to begin to imagine how terrible that was. So you were in Evin itself for how long? Do you mind me asking?
No, it's fine. That time I was in Evin for about a year, and then I was taken to Qezelisar prison. I think I was there for a year again, and then I was transferred again to Evin. I was in Evin about 3 years, I think, and then I was taken to Guardasht prison for 6 months, and then I was transferred to Evin, and I was in Evin until I was released in 1990.
And I know you now live in the UK and do a lot of
Yes.
work around, prisoners and their life after they have been incarcerated. And indeed, you're a very powerful voice and a powerful advocate now. And we absolutely salute your courage. But I wonder if you
Thank
could
you.
tell us, what is your view of what Iran is saying about what happened at that prison last week?
Um, you know, um, I don't trust what the regime says that there were no casualties among inmates. The thing is, there was um, mm, uh, some prisoners had visit with their families, and we know some families were died during the bombing, and some families don't have any news from their children who were at Evin. And it wasn't only the door that was um, uh, ex- I mean,
Destroyed.
damaged,
Yeah.
destroyed. Yes, it's many places in Evin wards, and for example, the clinic was destroyed altogether. I don't know if you have seen the pictures of how the wards were destroyed. And the thing is, very soon the regime transferred all the prisoners to other prisons, and for example, women prisoners were transferred to a prison called Karchak, which its condition is much worse than Evin.
Right, worse than Evan.
Oh,
So,
yes.
what concerns you about that in terms of what might happen in the future? Is there a possibility that some of these prisoners might pay the price for that war in
Of
terms?
course.
Yeah, carry on. Explain what you think might happen.
During 1980s, when I was in prison, there was a war between Iran and Iraq, and um, with pretense of prisoners being spies, um, the regime executed thousands of prisoners. So, yeah, I'm worried that the regime would do this again. Actually, during the first days of bombing Iran, about six, as far as I know, six prisoners were executed with the excuse that they were Israelis spies. Yeah.
So, in the short term, your concern would be that the regime will become more repressive.
It has become actually hundreds of people were arrested since the bombing. Yeah, thousand actually were arrested. The first 10 days, I heard that 1,000 people were arrested the first 10 days of bombing. Yeah.
So, I don't know, you'll have to tell us, were you at any time optimistic when there was quite a lot of talk about regime change? Did you ever believe that could happen?
I think any change in Iran has to come from people. Any regime change by Western governments will have very bad consequences for people. We have experience of regime change in Iran by America and the UK in 1953, and they changed the history of Iran. I mean, I wouldn't be here if they did not that coup in Iran, and I mean, we would have a different country now. And the thing is, in 1979, um, Khomeini was taken to Iran with America um, um, uh, planes. I mean, it was what was it? Fighters plane, and because they didn't want to lose Khomeini as an alternative, and protected him, took him to Iran. But they were wrong in terms of that Khomeini will open the oil
Yes.
to
Yeah.
West.
Well, you're making a very powerful case that Western interference in Iran has simply not been helpful. We understand that, and we can completely understand why you feel so strongly about it. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. We really appreciate it. That is Nazrin Parvaz, who's a civil rights campaigner and somebody who is imprisoned in Evin jail.